Hello, everybody. A warm welcome from our cinema hall from Kinodvor to all of you out there, wherever you are. We should have been here in April last year in one place, all together in this cinema hall on the seminar Next Steps in Film Education. But the reality is just different, unfortunately. Nevertheless, we are able to meet at least in the digital space of Zoom. And quite a few of us, to have at least some idea of the virtual community that we'll have in the next 2 days. I will share with you that more than 120 of you registered for the seminar. We are coming from all countries of the region and even wider. Among us, we have representatives of cinemas, film festivals, distributors, national agencies and ministries, educational organizations and other cultural institutions, and a lot of independent film education practitioners. Already at the very beginning, a big thank you to all of you for being with us, for sharing your time and expertise, as I strongly believe that film education can flourish exactly in this intersection of our sectors. The seminar is part of the European project, Film Education from Framework to Impact, co-ordinated by British Film Institute and partners, and it is organized by Slovenian Film Center and Kinodvor. So before going into any further details, let me invite 3 speakers, representatives of just mentioned organization, to welcome you as well. First, I will invite Mark Reed, the head of the education at the British Film Institute, who will tell us as well a little bit more about the project From Framework to Impact. Mark, please reveal yourself, and the floor is yours.
Reveal myself.
Yay.
Look, I put on a jacket. This is such an important event. I put on a jacket for the first time in 10 months, I think. I'm so pleased to be able to speak to you, and thank you so much for Kinodvor for finally getting our Balkan regional seminar together. It's really great. I'm very sad not to be able to be in Kinodvor, where I've been before, and I love the cinema and I love working with you all. But we are where we are. And in my case, it's in my bedroom in East London. But we do share a virtual space, and we do share an opportunity over the next 2 days to exchange and learn and develop film education, which is what I'm passionate about, and I hope you are too. I'm going to share my screen because I just have a short PowerPoint of a few slides just to introduce the program that this seminar is a part of, and to say something about where it came from. So I'll just share my screen, go to my PowerPoint. I hope that's visible.
We can see it.
Fantastic, Jiva, thank you. So let's go to presentation mode. Film Education from Framework to Impact is a Creative Europe funded program. It's a 2-year program. It's been extended slightly. It finishes formally at the end of February, but it's been going since 2019. It's a program that has lots of partners and partners who do different things and take on different roles. Our partner, the Danish Film Institute, is doing a lot of the work, and we're very grateful to them. This is just to show that the best description in English of the project is on the Danish Film Institute's website. So, I mean, I guess if you wanted to find out more and you Googled From Framework to Impact DFI, it would take you to this page. They have a very nicely set out, very nicely laid out description of the project. This is a project that has a long backstory, if you like. It began in 2011, when the media program invited organizations to tender to survey film education across Europe, and that's what the BFI and a group of partners did. We profiled 32 out of 33 EU and EEA countries. So we described the population, the film education infrastructure and environment, We compiled 150 case studies in three different sections, in school, after school, and outside school. We changed the definition of film literacy that the European Commission was using. They were just interested in watching and audiences, and we said that making film is as important. And we made some recommendations. And the first one was that we felt that there should be some models of film education for Europe that covered everything that we value in film, and that we should try and get those more widely used. We should develop some and get them more widely used. So in 2014-15, we went back to Creative Europe, I think, as it had become, was it Creative Europe by 2014? And we said we would like to develop a framework, one of these models for film education. And those were the partners that we worked with, and Kinodvor was an early partner in the framework as well. So we moved from survey to modeling film education, and the framework, it was an attempt to put everything that's important in film education onto a single page. And this is the page. The actual report is about 32 pages long, but this is the page which we call the framework for film education. And it looks at the relationship between creative, critical, and cultural aspects of film and film education. It looks at the kinds of areas of learning, the kinds of outcomes that we think are important, the experiences. So you'll notice that experiencing film in the cinema we have as fundamental, discovering film from the past, experience film as an art form, reflecting on different cultures, doing some making, reflecting on ideas and values. So that's our attempt to put the whole thing on one page. And so from having film education in a frame, we then went back to Creative Europe with some of the same partners, and bid for a 2-year program, which we call From Framework to Impact, which is what this seminar is a part of. And the idea, as it sounds, you have film education on a page, but what's it like when it's put into action? What are these ideas like? How can we develop these ideas in people and in practice and in their actual activity, their film education activity? And over 2 years, we said that we would do in year 1, that we were going to revisit the framework. We were going to look at some good examples of resources, think about impact measures, and then plan an online course and a set of regional seminars or regional activity. And then the second year, we committed to running a mass open online course, which Ian Wall will talk about tomorrow. That's been really successful. We're very pleased with that. That we would have 4 seminars for lead practitioners that tend to be in the newer accession states and areas towards the Old East. And it's an opportunity just to build bridges between the long-established film education programs and places that are, maybe beginning their journey. And then in each of for everybody who comes to these seminars, we're hoping that some of the ideas will go away, and you'll develop them with colleagues and partners and with people new to the experience. And then we were going to finish in a conference in Erfurt, which Vision Kino run every 2 years in November 2020. The range of partners, we have a core group of kind of administrative partners, Danish Film Institute, I've mentioned, Cinémathèque Française, Vision Kino in Germany. We have very great support from film centres in the four countries that are hosting the lead practitioner seminars. And then we have a group of experts who are helping us deliver and helping develop ideas. And these are people that we've worked with many times over the years. And you can see they might be a cinematheque, they might be a film archive, they might be an NGO or a teacher training organisation or a university, or indeed a cinema, as in the case of Kinodvor. So in the first year, but I said we surveyed about 70 people, 70 organisations, and asked them some questions about why they do what they do, how they reach learners, what infrastructure they have, who inspires them, how they innovate, we thought it was important to ask about the things that didn't work, because we learn from failures. Human beings are the only species, I think, that learn from their mistakes. I'm not sure about that, but we do. We have the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, and then to develop these impact measures, which we don't really see any evidence of very often. Ian might say something tomorrow about that survey, but we're going to publish it on a website. We think it's really kind of interesting, the outcomes that people came up with. The training, there are 4 seminars, and this is the final one. I think it was going to be the first one, as Rajiva said, in April last year, but we've saved the best till last time, I'm sure. And those are the countries that are participating in each of those 4 seminars, and then we've developed this open online course. It's run twice, and it's migrating to a permanent website, which we're going to launch very soon. Ian will tell you about that tomorrow. If you want to know more or find out about more, that's where you can find out about the Framework project. The Framework for Film Education is at that place, that very long URL address. And then Film Education, the User's Guide, is the course that we're just thinking about whether to reopen it again, because it's run twice. We could run it again a couple more times. And that is a whistle-stop tour of how we got here. So I pass back to Jiva.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the introduction. Next, I invite Natasha Bučar, the Managing Director of Slovenia Film Center. Natasha, hi, hello.
Hello, Jiva. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the conference, the 2 days of speaking on film education in our region. Film education, I believe, has never been so important as it will be after the COVID-19. When we first planned to organize the seminar in April last year, everything has been different. In Slovenia, we had a strategy of film education since 2016. We had educated and experienced practitioners forming exclusive film education programs for schools and families all over Slovenia through cinemas as well as through film festivals. Film education shyly began to enter Slovenian schools. Our film center has been systematically supporting the continuity, development, and strengthening of film education programs and projects since 2011. More and more children and young people were involved in projects were improving every year. People started to visit cinemas in larger numbers again. Last year was the end of something we've been facing as the way up for all the areas I was talking about. The unexpected epidemic caused a big change in our life and also in the way people watch films. Suddenly all the cinemas where film education had its home, at least in Slovenia, are closed. Children and young audiences were put in a position to watch films on new platforms at home without a careful guidance of our experienced film educators and practitioners who are mainly working in cinemas. As schools are online for months already in Slovenia, optional subjects, so-called optional subjects, as film media education in Slovenia are not taking place since the closing of the schools. Few months before the epidemic started, the Film Center has been publishing its 4-year strategy, where one of the main priorities of the new strategic period is audience development. In Slovenia, art house cinemas and film festivals are participating most in the field of audience development, and both festivals and art house cinema educational programs are supported by Film Center since almost 10 years. In the next period, Film Center plans to further support film education in Slovenia. Audience development will remain one of our main goals for the future, no matter of the epidemic or perhaps even because of the epidemic. But what is the epidemic teaching us? Did we prepare our children and young audiences for this? Is the support of non-formal education by cinemas doing its job during times like we are living today? Or do we need to put more efforts in formal education, school education? Those are the questions and answers we will need to answer within near future and perhaps also during this conference. I'm really, really happy that despite the epidemic, we are meeting and discussing film education with so many of you from so many countries. And I'm looking forward to meet with these challenges in the future. I would like to thank Mark Reid from British Film Institute to invite Slovenia to be part of this important European project. And especially I'd like to thank our partner Kinodvor and Živa, you, for organizing this event and for your great work, Kinodvor's great work that enables Slovenia to be the leading country in the field of film education in the region. Kinodvor, as with all partner cinemas in the country, of course, is representing a good model, I believe, for the regional film education as we see it should be. I wish you all a great work and very best results of the talks for the future of film education in our region, in Southeast Europe. Even if we cannot greet you here in Ljubljana as we planned last April, I wish you to feel great with Slovenian hosts and to exchange your knowledge. And the main thing is to connect in projects, in thinking, in models, how to practice film education in the region to support the future distribution of films, as well as screening films that we all make in the region. I wish you all the best for the very active 2 days, and thank you, Živa, once more for doing a great job, and good luck with the seminar.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you for your kind words and encouraging words for the next 2 days and also for the future. And now, last but definitely not least, is our director of Kinodvor, Mitka Daric. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I will be very, very brief because Mark and Natasha already made introductions that I think get us going, set the tone, and I think we are all in the mood to start working. I would just like to say welcome to Kinodvor. We are so very proud to be able to do this. And thank you to panelists and participants to be willing to share your knowledge, your experience with us. So I'm sure we're going to have very productive and inspiring 2 days. Just I'm waiting to hear what you have to say. So let's just start this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitka. As you said, let's begin. Before we start with our panelists, I will just briefly introduce you the aim of our virtual gathering and the logic, how it will look like. So as also Mark said before, the aim of the seminar is to look into different ways of building sustainable strategies and models of a long-term film education. But as also Natasha mentioned already, the pandemic is changing all aspects of our lives, our realities, with cinemas, cultural venues and schools being closed or working under strict measures. The film education has been deeply affected. So first, we need to look where we are, what is happening right now. So today, it is all about the current state in the region. We will hear 4 different case studies that they will be bringing that they were able to keep their programs running also during the pandemic. They will bring different angles, different perspectives. They will share concrete steps they have made to keep providing the access to quality film education. And tomorrow, we will dive into the strategic approaches to sustainable film education. So both days will have the same logic. In the morning, we will have a webinar with a panel with a few presentations and a discussion, and that will give us food for our thoughts. So I invite you all, and especially the ones that are staying with us throughout the day, also in the afternoon, give the panelists your full attention. Maybe also make some notes, because there will be an opportunity to share our thoughts in smaller group discussions, in breakout rooms, on Zoom meeting in the afternoon. Of course, you can also ask your question during the morning session. You just click on the Q&A icon and write the questions and comments you might have. We'll get also to them. Maybe we won't be able to answer all of them, but some of them definitely. So now let's move to the case studies. And with no further delay, I invite our first panelist, Darko, Baseski, who will present us their case of hybrid edition of Gifoni Macedonia Youth Film Festival, where they managed to fully engage teens in the international film festival experience, going so far to even organize an online hospitality. So Darko, please, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm head of Gifoni Macedonia Youth Film Festival past 5 years, and I will present you how we managed to organize our film festival and some basic information about our festival. Our festival was started as a need that after the end of Yugoslavia, we lost almost all cinema theaters in our country. And we had situation that the old generation forgot what is cinema, and young generation don't know what is cinema really. And we found our chance with Gifoni Youth Film Festival, Gifoni Experience from Italy. They gave us a brand and full support to initiate this branch of Gifoni from Italy in Macedonia as a regional hub for youth in Balkan countries. Last year we had the 8th edition in September, and also since 2015 we started to have a traveling part of the festival. Until now we have visited 16 cities. We try within past years to develop not just film festival for watching films, but also to have full program which will unite the needs of kids. So our festival is international. Every year we have a international jury made of all participants from 10 to 12 countries. They watch films, they discuss. We organize some workshops, mainly film workshops and master classes, and also the festival is some way how to socialize kids who are from new generation, who are usually used their mobile phones for communication. Instead, we offer physical joy to be together and to work together, and the end to have a fun. Basic strategy of the festival was how to offer informal film education for young generation, but we found very, very useful that actually we have a wider education for kids to open their thoughts and to discuss about main problem of young generation. For example, it's very difficult to bring kids to discuss for something like violence in school. Even if you offer some open discussion on that topic, you'll have just maybe 10 to 20 participants. Instead of that, we offer film with violence in school story, and after that we have, after every film, we have at least 45 minutes of discussion about film, about topic, about everything. Actually, the basic need was how to offer some system for film education in a country without national strategy for film education. Second step was how to reduce the gap between school and film education. On beginning, it was difficult to encourage kids to join the festival. Now we have another problem. We have huge interest, so we are limited with space of 3 venues, and usually we have around 600 to 650 participants every year. I mentioned informal education as a part of film activities, and audience development. When we start the festival, we have just one cinema in capital city with a regular program during whole year. 2 years later, multiplex cinema was opened in the capital city, and they were also suffering for audience. But within next 5-6 years, audience is increased until this year with COVID. Another thing which we developed within festival is decision making. Whole program of our festival is made out of ideas of young people. They are deciding what they like to have as a program at our festival. For example, who will come as a teacher for master classes or discussion, or to meet some famous actors or directors. And at the end, as a reward, 12 kids from jurors are going next year in Gifoni Film Festival in Italy. Young people who are participating and who are jurors in past years are jury who will decide who will go next year at the festival. So we try to give all decision making to young people, to teach them how to think and how to decide, which will help them for further decision making in their life. And actually the whole program, even the selection of the short films is made by experienced jurors who are between 10 to 18 years old kids. What are our main impacts? We increase the watching of art house films. We have increasement of new young filmmakers who start shooting films or videos. So we have, as a result, we have many of the kids who start to have their own vlogs at I don't know, YouTube or everywhere. But also we have kids who start making a short film. And last year, a group of kids who made 4 short films before, they started shooting TV series. They are mainly between 16 and 18 years old kids. We have also influence of media literacy, motivation and self-confidence, team working, and at the end, common understanding and socialization, because we have a multi-ethnic country, and that was also important for us, how to understand others and how to understand each other between neighbor countries and international participants. This is the basic of our film program and educational program. We have 3 competition program: juniors for +10, cadets +13, and seniors for +16. 16 films in a program, which is 5 feature films in each of the competition, and over 30 short films. Educational program every year is at least 8 workshops and 8 master classes, and we have a lot of additional project activities, as international evening with presentation of each of the countries, with some cultural activities like music or food or whatever, and many other projects. And the right bottom corner is one of the most successful additional project within festival we were made in past year. In 2019, we made the collaboration with Italian department for like post, they call it post police, but for department who control internet activities, and they have educational traveling classroom. The project was called La Vita da Social, actually life on the social network, and they bring this track from Italy. We within 7 days during the festival, this track was visited by all 600 participants at our festivals, and another 2,000 kids from different schools. This track was placed in 4 different locations around the city to cover different areas of the city. So kids were coming, they have classes about their security and how to use social networks and to avoid I don't know, cyberbullying or other.
Darko, I will just ask you if you can, because it's already 10 minutes, so maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. This year, facing pandemic, after huge successful edition in 2019, we were faced with the pandemic, and we were thinking what to do. So we were testing different platforms. At the end, we decided to build our own platform, which was built with support from OSCE mission to Skopje, and we try to make whole atmosphere closer to live edition. So we offer film screening at our youth MK platform. We have discussion and master classes, which were streamed on our Facebook page, YouTube, and web page. We offer 8 different workshops with Zoom platform, and we have physical screenings in the evening in cinema of Macedonian Cinémathèque. And as we have regular hospitality of international kids who are guests at our Macedonian participants' homes, this year we offer virtual hospitalities. Every foreign participant has a host from Macedonia to introduce themselves, but also to talk about their lives. from making a virtual tours showing there's cities, but also at the end we have additional workshop and we let them to make something that they really like to make, like workshop. At the end they made 8 different videos from these virtual hospitalities idea. Technology behind this was UTMK as a platform for live streaming and for content. We used Vimeo for live video streaming, and we have a 3 Zoom subscription to have 3 different rooms during our festival. This is how it's look. We made the studio at our office to have discussion with participants, and in the evening we have screenings in this open cinema. So this is the difference between last year and this year edition. So we have the same 6 days. We have half of number of the participants, mainly because kids were disappointed. They don't like online, whatever it is. They are fed up of online school and they don't like to have online activities. We have 12 countries, online screenings, live video streamings, and open cinema, as I said. Here you can see Vimeo link of our short video if you like to see how the festival was made in a short video of like 5-6 minutes. Thank you very much, and we'll continue later with.
Thank you, Darko. We will go through with all 4 presentations and have a discussion afterwards. But I encourage you already to write all your questions you might have again in the Q&A section. Our next panelist is also part of a very well-known festival in the region, but he's not bringing their festival experience, but rather their experience with film school. They took the opportunity of the virtual space to give it some new added value. So welcome Eroll Bilibani from Doku Lab at the DokuFest from Kosovo. Dear Eroll, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Živa. Thank you, Kinodvor, for inviting me and for allowing me this opportunity to share our experiences. I'm just going to share my screen here. I hope you see it.
We can.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eroll Bilibani, and I'm the head of DokuLab, the educational program of International Documentary and Short Film Festival, DokuFest. Our annual festival, which enables the exchange of different experiences between artists and fans of cinema and music, who used to come together to the city of Prizren from all over the world, were brought together remotely this year through online platforms. As a result of this, we made a decision to not change our days, so we became the first festival in the region that managed to be held on the scheduled dates. And among other things, we expanded our festival program from 9 days in physical version to 18 days of a virtual festival. Little did we know that one extraordinary challenge that we faced was the fact that Kosovo does not have its IP addresses, making it as a non-existent as a country in the virtual sphere. Therefore, we had to include Albania, North Macedonia, and Serbia to be able to stream films in Kosovo, which created different kinds of problems with filmmakers and sales agents regarding the film rights for each territory. But that is a different, and it's a story of its own. The outbreak of the pandemic found our state educational system totally unprepared. But on the other hand, it provided us with the opportunity to fulfill this gap and engage with teachers in preparation of didactic materials for use of film in the virtual classrooms that we introduced during the lockdown. Although we were working from home, our team mobilized into creating different models of virtual classrooms on our website, linking particular lessons with the themes of the documentaries that we provided for them. We also organized an online event, posting 1 film per day for free broadcast on our website and social media. As it regards for cinema, unfortunately, as elsewhere in the world, due to restrictions for public gatherings, we had to close our cinema until further notice, which we luckily opened this year with documentary film screenings on Tuesdays and Fridays. So we started very, very good in 2021. In the first period from March to June 2020, we created a functional network with a number of teachers throughout the country to be able to organize regular screenings followed by lively discussions with students. We managed to have 2 and sometimes 3 events per day on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays to screen in total 36 films in 8 high schools and engage around 550 students from all over the country. The debates were organized in a format of a Karl Popper debate with 2 teams participating in each debate, where one group would be given the role of the affirmative team, whereas the other one would be the one of the negating team. The rest of the students who were participating in the screenings were given the role of assessing which team has provided factual and stronger arguments in their debate. The film topic was closely linked to the lesson plan of the teachers as foreseen by National Curricular Framework. During this period, we also joined our international festival friends from all over the world in curating and distributing the films through My Darling Quarantine Short Film Festival, which lasted for 11 weeks, was programmed by 66 programmers from all around the globe, and screened 77 films by 87 filmmakers that were all kind enough to share their work for free. This inspired us to do a local event as well under the Sweet and Short Quarantine Festival, which included a daily film screening of a short film produced through our documentary film production center, thus promoting the work of young filmmakers and providing our audiences with a qualitative program during the lockdown. For 61 days in a row, we showcased 61 films produced through our film school for free. It is worth mentioning that these films are also inspired teachers to direct their students to watch films, as the majority of the films address social issues seen from the perspective of young people. All of these films were also provided to a national TV broadcaster, which was a great way to share these films to unconventional, or should I say, TV audiences, which in a way also contributed to the audience building for our online festival. Our Future is Here Film School brings every year around 15 young people from high schools to work and create original films on social and human rights oriented topics, which creates a multi-dimensional approach that provides younger generations with tools for empowerment by means of encouraging self-expression. Through these programs, youth are offered the floor to debate on various social issues of their immediate concern, engaging them in intercultural dialogue on identity, human rights, gender equality, climate change, culture, and so on. Although the first workshop was possible in physical environment, the post-production workshop had to be reinvented to be able to complete the films before the festival. Since restrictive measures were allowing organization of events in very, very small groups, we decided to split into 2 groups and work in larger venue than usual. Of course, this increased the costs, but this had to be done. It was quite a challenging approach, as we needed to ensure the safety and well-being of each participant and their editing tutors. As a result, we managed to successfully produce 8 short films, and maybe all these difficulties were as a source of inspiration for our students, who, in my opinion, created the best films since we began this venture in 2012. We learned quite a bit from this and applied all lessons to this year's production camp that we organized in our cinema, redesigning the cinema environment from 160-seater cinema to a classroom-type working space for 20 people. During this period, we also had many discussions on how we see our role in this new reality. Our DokuLab department already runs numbers of training initiatives for high school teachers and university students. But due to lack of funding, our projects are usually adopted to donors' intervention areas, which often limits or interrupts our interventions and affects our relations with schools and universities. We are now currently directing all of our energy to primarily accredit the teacher training modules at the Ministry of Education and Science and at the Kosovo Accreditation Agency. Through this, we want to develop a comprehensive training program and curricula for high school teachers and university students. Our current online resources with films for teachers are very vague, as the staff capacities are limited to implement the program and continuously update the online resources. We have a huge number of films, but on the other hand, the capacity to constantly update and create educational didactic materials, it's quite challenging. So as a result, we will initially create a 3-year competitive paid internship and skill building program for 4th-year students of technical high school here in Prizren from the classes of graphic design and information management. And they will be guided by our project team members to design and update the online resources for teachers and work with professional teams in creating the online resources for students. I can't go in detail for this particular project due to a time constraint, but I want to mention 2 very important regional projects, one which is ongoing and another one at its inception. We started last year an initiative with our partners from Belgrade, Film Festival Slovenia Zona, to create opportunities for young people to meet, interact, and through online camps for intercultural research and exchange of opinions, and to have better understanding of each other. While as a final task, they will have to create visual portraits of each other, the way they see each other in fact, and not in the way the media portrays each other. Especially, this is very, very important for us here in Kosovo, and I believe in Serbia, especially when it comes to relations between Albanians and Serbs. The other initiative that will kick off this year will also expand our role in the introduction of multimedia education in Montenegro. This approach will initially build the capacities of the project partner, which is the Underhill Festival in Podgorica, to align program with national curricula and organize the first teacher training in Montenegro. The process will include identification of the films, translation of existing titles produced in Kosovo through the support of National Endowment for Democracy, and creation of the first film guides or an online resource to be used in the schools nationwide in Montenegrin and Albanian languages in Montenegro. We hope that this will lead to creation of the first digital library of films for schools with didactic materials for teachers by 2022. We are quite active in our social media, so whoever is interested, we usually post all of this information on either Instagram or Facebook pages. And what I wanted to say is that we are really, really happy that we are coming back with a soft opening of the cinema program in a very modest rhythm. We started the year with community screening of documentary films twice a week for a very limited number of audiences by using only the quarter of the capacity of the cinema. One last thing that I would like to mention is that we also hope to join Creative Europe soon, because Kosovo is not part of Europe Media Program. Hopefully joining to Creative Europe Media Program will give us opportunities to extend our partnerships, to create new partnerships, and to, work together and making film education more accessible to everyone. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Eroll. You already highlighted so many important topics. One of them, the partnerships in the region. We'll look into that a little bit later in the discussion. Thank you. So let's move forward with our next panelist, which is our dear Ivana Alpeza from Zagreb, from the Seventh Continent, a film education program dedicated to film literacy in Croatia. She will bring to the table a very important segment of film education, a program for kindergartens. Across Europe, this segment is still being developed with just a few organizations doing it on a long-term base. In addition, the youngest ones are perhaps the trickiest target group to engage online, as most of us don't want to see them in the virtual space. But it is possible, and Ivana will present us how they did it very much successfully. So Ivana, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, just a second. Okay, good morning to all the panelists, to all the attendees, and thank you Kinodvor and Živa to invite us and to be able to share our experience about our kindergarten project, and actually to feel meaningful and useful through pandemics. As Mark mentioned, he put some jacket after 10 months in pandemics. I did some makeup just to feel like it's a real thing. Although it's a real thing. Things that we have already heard are very interesting from our colleagues from Macedonia and Kosovo. So I will present you a project which we have started in 2016. It's a kindergarten in community cinemas. It is for age group 5 to 7 years old children. These are preschoolers, and I believe it's a preschooler generation in Croatia. But I think it's the same in the southeastern region. It is a one-year project for the same group of children and multiple annual film screenings, in total 4, with variety of film titles for that age group. I think that everybody who attends this seminar know that to be literate is to participate fully in culture, and that film and media are part of literacy. So when we conducted internal research in our second year, we actually concluded that we are facing with digital natives, which are going to be literate in the moving image, in order to participate fully in 21st century culture. That's why through the exploration of film and film as itself as a medium, we focus on developing creativity, critical thinking skills, and cultural appreciation in kindergartens. So this famous 3 C's, creative, critical, and cultural. This project is based on strong partnership and networks, connected in a circle of trust. Yes, we did watched Meet the Fockers, and we were inspired with that title, but we needed some kind of circle of trust because we were approaching to such a gentle age, preschoolers, kindergarten children. So in our circle of trust is the city of Zagreb, who is funding this project. We, as a film education provider and program developer, cinema in community center, which are founded by city of Zagreb. Very important film literacy activities, very in detail explained, prepared for kindergarten activities in the kindergarten, which we do with Faculty of Teachers Education. We pay attention a lot on continuing professional development for kindergarten professionals, also with Faculty of Teachers Education. And the last but not the least, very important link in our circle of trust, motivation seminars for parents. So yes, we do with parents as well within our project. Not as much as we would like to, but that's something there is a room for growth in the future. So our preschool teaching methodics is based on three principles. It is careful, conscious watching and preparing children before the screening. Then very careful guided viewing before and after the screening. And we pay attention very much on hands-on literacy activities in the kindergarten, which are fostered with structural coloration approach, which is basically synthesis of different art form as film is. So you can see more of our atmosphere in kindergarten after the screenings. We decided to show you this because when we faced with the decision to be or not to be online with kindergartens, and when we were approached by nursery teachers with the question, guys, what is happening this autumn? Are we going to continue with the kindergarten project? We knew that we have kindergarten online project, which make us very, very happy. Transition was very, very easy, with lots of trust from the nursery teachers and children side. From technical point of view, we used Zoom application. We helped to some kindergartens with internet connection and with some part of technical equipment. And we had continuity of the program. We just transferred into the virtual. For children, it was very, very natural because it was the same host that is conducting this guided watching and viewing in cinema. So it was familiar to them. For new children, nursery teachers who were previously in our program helped to adapt easily. And we had a beautiful communication with lots of preparations before the screening, and to be able to make a smooth Zoom screening and conducted talks before and after the screening. In details, you can see in chat video that we have done for this purpose, and you will see how this this online project functioned in the kindergarten actually. So at the end of the day, when you count pros and cons, there are on both sides in order to analyze what our primary and secondary audience gain or have lost in this project. We had a continuity of the program for both groups, for nursery teachers, which are secondary audience, and primary teachers. We got this loyalty feeling in both direction. We had familiar face and well-known structure that helped us to continue this project very naturally and very easily. Very surprisingly for us was or not that surprisingly, but it was nice to face that our project gained a higher level of quality, because we dealt with smaller groups and we had a personal approach with those smaller groups. And very, very useful as well. It was a human-to-human relationship towards nursery teachers through this process of preparing kindergarten online Zoom meetings or events, let's say in that way. But on the other side, of course, we lost the magic of cinema and screen watching experience. We didn't continue with the development of visit habits to the cinema, although we try to explain kids the difference between online event and meeting and coming to cinema. We are in lack of excitement. Cinema is a social event in this kind of projects, and a complex, the process of nurturing nursery teachers into the film ambassadors is more complex in other way. So we will see what we will conclude at the end of this seminar. But in a sense of business model, we still don't have a business model, but we are in a, we just opened the door for a new sustainable project on the national level, because still this project is funded by municipality, City of Zagreb. But online project helped us through social media channels, that we were very much approached by kindergarteners from different parts of Croatia, willing to participate, and actually to participate paying for such a project. So our second phase very soon will be to research sustainability at the national level of this project. Just to conclude and sum up, this online environment helped us to build up a kindergarten network throughout Croatia for sure. It helped us that we took umbrella approach to this project, and we think about this project now on national level, because we can do it with the online, and that we can develop audience in culturally and socially deprived places. That's a great thing. We think that in new normal, we all will have to take balance, combining old and new activities through these old channels. So I hope to see you soon at the cinema in this or another way. We will think after these 2 days in which direction to go. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ivana. Thank you for your lovely presentation. You were mentioning also quite a few important words like sustainable models and well-known structures. So we'll get to that also in the discussion. So now I welcome my colleague Barbara that will highlight the perspective of a cinema. She's the one taking care of our. Yeah, the host muted me. Sorry. So Barbara is taking care of our school program, and she will present to you how we tackle challenges that we were certainly not prepared for. But she won't be talking only about schools, but also about young audiences in general. So Barbara, the stage is you won't, so she will be talking only about schools. So the floor is yours.
Hi. I hope you still have an energy for this last session. I come from Kinodvor, and I'm a part of the program, Young Audiences program, which is made of 3 programs. I'd like to share my screen. So, Young Audiences programs are an important part of Kinodvor from very beginning. And when first lockdown happened, we knew, it was clear from very first moment that we have to go online, at least partly, because the cinema stopped, but the teaching didn't. And schools didn't stop working, they just moved to new environment, and we had to follow it there. So we asked ourselves how to do it. The first challenge was that we have a large variety of school programs, and they are targeted at very different audiences, and they are organism. Whoop! Sorry, I didn't share screen. So. Okay. So we have variety of programs, and some of the programs are really small, tiny, experimental, focused to small kindergarten groups, Cine Mini project, and others are quite vast municipality programs that cover every child in Ljubljana. And even further, we also partly cover with our regular school program, whole country of Slovenia. So how to move all this online? This is how our cinema looked up till February 2019. It was too small to cover all the activities, to take all the kids and their energies. And this is how it looked in March. And what should we do now? From first week of quarantine, we had many calls from teachers. They have planned cultural activities. They asked for advice of what films to choose. They asked for material that would help them to prepare for films. And general public can move to Netflix, but the schools can't. So how can we help them? We decided not to pull the films online all at once, but first to think about model and develop a model. And this model had three very simple questions, very simple goals. First, we knew that it had to be complementary to cinema. We are cinema and we don't want to make a substitute something that would substitute the cinema, but something that will add to what we do. We knew that we have to make a model that will be sustainable, that will, nothing is technically easier than to put film online. It's just one click, but how long can we work in this model? And thirdly, we knew that we have to be responsible. We had to listen to what our audiences really need. And this changed a lot in the course of epidemic, and we had to respond to these changing environments and changing needs of our teachers and of the kids that we work with. So we had many more dilemmas than answers, but it was a start. So the main question, what do children need? This is my daughter. She's 6 years old, and by the age of 6, she became an administrative worker. She wakes up every morning, she goes behind computer, she opens computer, and she works there for many hours, and she fills the papers. So my question was, are online films really what she needs? And the answer was yes, but it was not an easy one. So what do children need? Of course, they need art. Even if there is an epidemic, people need art, and so do children. And art is there not only to learn. We knew from very first beginning that children learn a lot in online schooling. They learn math, they learn biology, but art is there to offer them playground for thinking differently, for experimenting, for playing, for trying things that they wouldn't try otherwise. And art is important for them also to start a dialogue. Below, you will see a small picture. This is my second daughter. And on the paper, it says, don't enter, don't knock, and quiet. She's 14 years old, and she's sure that she doesn't need dialogue. But still, we felt that kids also, as we adults need to reflect on the current situation and need to talk about it, and talking through films. It's really a good opportunity to tackle many themes that are important to them. And another very important question, children need equal opportunities, and they were pushed in situation where not every child has a computer, and we as a cinema have to be responsible that we do not make activities that would threaten or even enlarge these differences between kids, but would like to be a part of those trends that have to soften those inequalities among children. So we concluded that putting films online is just a part of our activities. Very important part are answering the questions of what the children really need. We made a platform, we put films online on Vimeo platform, and we prepared, we put a lot of effort in preparing other online activities. We opened a cinema playground. It's Cinema Igrišće in Slovenian, and it's a webpage that leads children back to, though it's online, it leads children back to physical world. All the activities that are there are focused to activities that they can do in physical world, that they can cut paper, that they can print cards, and they can play with cards, that they can jump, that they can meet their schoolmates or the kids from block, and they can talk to them, and we try to make them available with real encounters. So we recorded some introductions with real people that made an atmosphere before they started to watch films, and we invited authors, directors, actors to record their talks and talk to the children directly. The next question was what teachers need. As I said already before, they needed advice even more perhaps than ever. Immediately after lockdown, we had a flood of films that were put online, and a lot of those films were badly translated. They were in English, they were half legal or totally illegal, and teachers need advice of what to choose in this. So they needed a point of reference, they needed to trust somebody. And they needed support. They had a lot of material. They had to prepare a lot of online materials very quickly, and to make the online schooling possible. So if we help to prepare them online materials for film education, we will help them a lot. So we invested a lot in the pedagogical materials, in technical support, how to help them to include films in their regular work. We had to follow their needs and to respond to them. So we made a questionnaire before we started, asking them in details what they expect to need, what would they prefer, and we followed that with evaluation that was constant. And we, because of that, we changed also our courses during the process a lot, because also their needs changed. So at the end, films, what do they need? It would be an easy question, easy answer if I would say love, but in reality, films also need distributors. If we don't have distributors in short term, we would see just popcorn films, or everybody would move to YouTube. Films need authors, and they are the most vulnerable in this sector. So everybody was forcing them in last few months to put the content online for free, and how long they can live on that. It's a question that we have to ask ourselves. And we also need cinemas, of course, and we need film pedagogues and other workers in this field. It took years to raise film pedagogues to combine film knowledge with a special touch for young audiences. And in 1 year, all this knowledge and all these experiences could disappear. So we didn't want that to happen. And it was quite hard from time to time because it was not supported by trends in our country. So, how this year ended? We had a lot of questions, we had many answers, but more of them are still missing. We managed to keep a variety of programs. We managed to keep a majority of audiences. And we managed to make happen one really nice and important partnership with our festival, Cinémathèque. We had many online school screenings, and we had many few cinema screenings in 3.5 months when we were open, and we are still having a lot of dilemmas. So that's why I'm really happy that we are in this conference together and that we'll try to answer together on some of these dilemmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Just stay with your video on because we'll bring everybody in as well. So Darko, Eroll, and Ivana, if you can open your videos, we'll have a short discussion. I see already that there is a lot of things happening in the Q&A sections, and some questions are already being answered. But anyway, we'll bring also our colleague Anya, a little bit later in to share some questions from our audience. But before I'll start to set a tone and maybe to break the ice and bring some structure in it, because I see that questions are really about the methods and way how you did all your lovely projects. But my first question will anyway be some of you already mentioned the conditions you had or you have for your programs, but I would like you to tell us maybe 1 or 2 main conditions to keep the continuity of your program. So I would like to, to touch the topic of how sustainable models actually help us also to overcome the crisis. So who would like to start with the main conditions that helped you keep the things rolling? Eroll, please.
Start, yes. Well, one of the main conditions for us in our educational program is the willingness of the teachers to participate in the program. So basically what we've created is this rotational way of doing online training for teachers on how they can use film in the classroom. Basically our website, where they can create our website dedicated for education, which is a DokuFest lab. It's dedicated for them, and they have to create accounts so they can access all of these films. When I say this is all connected pretty much to the funding. As I mentioned at the end of my presentation, Kosovo is not part of Creative Europe Media Program. We are neither part of Euroimage or different funding opportunities that can help us sustain our program. So what we created sort of an agreement with our municipality, where municipality has committed to co-fund all of the educational projects that we can secure. So for example, we have a funding from National Endowment for Democracy or from IPA programs of European Union. Then our municipality is willing to co-finance all of this, which gives us some sort of sustainability and involvement of the local institutions in sustaining our programs for the future. And one of the very, very important elements in sustaining our program in film production comes through promotion of the films that we do outside of Kosovo. So basically, when our students finalize their short films, their premiere is at DokuFest, and then they travel across the region. They go, for example, to Slobodna Zona in Belgrade, to Underhill Fest in Podgorica. Sometimes we have these exchange programs with Makedox in Skopje. We have a partnership with Pravoljudski in Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So basically, we kind of created this network of different festivals and organizations where we exchange programs, which kind of gives us another way of promoting our programs, and it gives them like this natural way of sustainability.
Thank you, Eroll. Again, I heard so many times the partnership. Ivana, you were also mentioning the circle you have and the trust that you have. So what was your main conditions to maintain the program?
Well, first, the main condition is that project was funded for this year, pandemic year. So we had to invest that money in a smart way. And the expectation of continuity of the program from the side of the nursery teachers was something what was actually this moment where we said, yes, we are having project right away. So that's something which helped us a lot. But we were building that 4 years ago in Eroll.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about the sustainable models. When we have a sustainable models, when we have the infrastructure, also the crises are really easier to overcome.
We're just shifting in another mode.
Yeah.
That's what happened to us. I don't know how it's with others, but the project is the same, but in another mode.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to the methods and shifting our projects and activities into the online environment. But Darko, maybe you can continue, and then Barbara.
Yes, this year we used a couple different partnerships to encourage kids. And on beginning of a pandemic, because I knew the founders of CineSquare, I asked them to offer films for kids for free for a certain period. Because school was stopped, Ministry of Education tried to find a solution for online schools and whatever, and kids were bored. So I simply asked CineSquare to offer content for of films they have for kids, and they were immediately agree, and they gave us a special code for watching films for kids, and we publish it at our social media network everywhere, and that increased the visiting of their part for kids called Kids Square. CineSquare platform has separate part for kids for films for kids called Kids Square. Later on, we try also making different kind of workshop with kids, because we use our kids to decide what they like to have for a program within our festival. So we use Zoom platform to discuss with them. And at the end, we have also our kids participating at Gifoni Film Festival in Italy from our office, because it was also whole festivals online. So in the meantime, we try on many different way to make the festival possible. So we have huge decreasement of support this year, mainly because of COVID, but luckily we found a call, and we were supported by OSCE from mission to Skopje, so they gave us bigger grant to making possible to build our own platform and to make all these online workshop within our festival.
Okay, thank you. So now we have educational system. We have, of course, sustainable funding, partnerships, loyal audiences. Barbara, would you add anything to that? Or
I would agree with Eroll and Ivana. I also think that our transition that was fast and huge was possible only because we have a continuous support of municipality, and all those new models that were developed and all these new materials were developed with that money, because we couldn't accept a huge part of the year. We couldn't accept kids in our cinema. We could use this money to transfer and to move to another environment and to do there what we would do in the cinema, the best way we can. So this continuity is very, very important. And I would agree with Eroll. I was surprised that teachers in this era of abundance, when they have films from everywhere and for free, didn't choose those contents, but they trusted in huge numbers to us. So it was a positive surprise of this year that they were loyal and they stood by the cinema and stood by the content that they trust.
yeah, because one of the challenges that online world is also bringing is exactly what you mentioned, Barbara, right now, that there is a lot of competition. But if we keep to the quality, probably we are on the right track for that. Talking about the quality, it's very connected to the methods. And I know all of you have a long history of film education programs. Ivana, especially for your program, I know that you have a really high developed methodology. But my question is, can we, now that we have the online world, can we just shift our programs, or it's a completely new media that we should anyway explore a little bit more to find out what is quality film education content for children? Was that part of your rethinking, or the first step was just, okay, we have to do something, just move online? Who would like to start? Ivana?
Our idea was to start, but we we said to ourselves, okay, but after that we have to make one wrap up, what we gain with that and what we have lose. And was this quality enough, and what we can improve further. And we are just in the process of analyzing and completing the questionnaire survey that we did with all the nursery teachers that was involved in this project. So we will see the result. We just received half of the answers, but it was very detailed questionnaire in which we wanted to see which things they did, which they didn't, what was difficult, what was easy to them. Our first remark was for sure that we are missing more really film literacy activities. They liked activities that are usual kindergarten activities. They are different art activities, but we would be happier to see more of film literacy activities like optical toys, workshops, stop animations, that kind of things. Because with kids 6 and 7, you can do use of sound and these kind of things. But that's maybe the guidance where we have to go in 2021.
And do a lot of research and carefully listening to our audience,
Get back to Faculty of Teachers Education, ask them to help us. Yeah, that will be our next steps.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to comment? Eroll, please. You just have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Oops.
I totally agree with Ivana. It's a very, very important to involve all the professionals in the field, because we also work with the Faculty of Education, and they are our main resource in kind of checking our work, like doing checks and balances of what we do and what we provide to the educational system. When it comes to our program, we were in a bit lucky in a way, not to say visionary, because all of our programs were developed to fit the online formula. So basically, since we work throughout the country and we cannot work directly with each and every school, we created this network of teachers throughout the country, and we created this online platform for them to be able to download and stream films from our platform and have didactic materials in the classroom environment. And this, it was such a big help, because, you know, we just had to shift from classroom to home, to actually to call it to Zoom. So everything went to Zoom, whereas teachers were doing screenings, which was not the best way, but teachers were doing screenings within the Zoom, because they have the accounts, they can access the films, but we could not give the accounts to, you know, all this group of children who wanted to watch films. So that was one of the biggest burden, and this is why we decided to start using more of the films that we produced, because in the last 10 years we've produced over 100 films by youth, for youth. So basically we started using those and some of the open source films. And since there is a partnership with Danish Film Institute, I would like to also mention a very, very important partnership that we did with the Y Foundation in Denmark, that has a huge repository of films, short films and feature documentary films that are free, that are on YouTube, their YouTube channel, and that can be connected easily to the educational program. So we created a partnership with them as well. And as you said, Živa, this type of work cannot be done without partnerships. We have to create partnerships because we can learn from each other. This is how we developed our educational program, by learning from somebody else and then adapting it to our own environment. And then having to have a big struggle with our Ministry of Education to kind of incorporate it into curricular framework, into national curricular framework. And now it functions, you know, very well. But these partnerships are very, very important to have, like a forum of exchange of knowledge and exchange of tools that some of us use.
That's why we are here today. Barbara, Darko, anybody else would like to comment? Or we bring questions from audience? Bring questions from audience?
Yeah, I already answered my questions.
You already did. Okay, but we'll bring Anya anyway, because Anya, welcome to join us. Because I see a lot of things are happening in the Q&A section. So maybe you can bring some questions from our audience. What are they curious about?
So the questions are more or less regarding the methodology, the partnerships, and maybe we'll start with a question from Ian, and that's a question for all panelists. So how did you clear the rights to screen films online as part of your projects?
So it's the topic of distribution and the content.
Again, strong partnership and network. We had the trust from the distributors that we are going to screen it from when to where, from when to when, I mean the exact period, for which purpose, for which audience, and we didn't have any problem to clear the rights.
In our case, we are part of Balkan Documentary Distribution Network, which is a network of distributors for documentary films in territory of former Yugoslavia. So we have rights for the films for Kosovo and educational rights as well. So basically what we've done, we have all of these films on our Vimeo, like secure Vimeo account, and then through our website where teachers can have individual accounts, they can access these films. Films are not available for download, they are only available for streaming. This is how we try to protect the films. And on the other hand, as I mentioned earlier, it's the partnership with the Y Foundation in Denmark and a large number of films that we've produced ourselves.
Darko, Barbara?
We spent some time to convince distributor that our platform is secure because we developed within our platform to have geo-blocking access with code which was given to participants, and also we have a limitation of access of film. So actually every film was available for participants of the festival just one day. So some of them trust us, some of them that just try to see how it works, but at the end we have all films we have in plan to screen for our festival.
Barbara?
Yes, for Kinodvor also the project would not be possible without trust and partnership of distributors, and we think this is very important partnership for future times because we'll need new distributors, new content, new films to live on, so we must nurture this partnership.
And probably also new business models where it's really a question, what kind of impact will free content online have on that? Probably it's not really sustainable for a long term. Anya, do we have any other questions? That
Yes, quite a lot of them actually.
Okay.
So we have one question from Bulgaria, from Mrs. Paraskeva, and it's regarding sustainability. It's for all of you. So in Bulgaria, film education strategy is not recognized on a public policy level. So they need to describe each year all over again to various culture-related funding calls to include such projects. So could every one of you present their view of how did those kind of regular public policy level affect their work? So.
Anybody on the policy level?
Well, I can maybe start. We worked very closely with all the policies in the curricular framework of Kosovo. So basically, we found how do I say loopholes on how to integrate film because the new curricula of Kosovo was introduced in 2016, which was encouraging using of more audiovisual tools and encouraging teachers to go more on platforms like YouTube to find content that would complement the textbooks and complement the content that the textbooks provide. So basically we found an opportunity here and we created a program. We created a program for the ministry and we signed agreements with 17 municipalities because extracurricular activities in Kosovo are decentralized and are the responsibility of each individual municipality. So we basically signed memorandums of cooperation with the directorates of education in these municipalities, which kind of opened the doors of the schools for us. And this is how we started. And then we, of course, started gaining trust of the teachers. And then teachers are very free. They have around 40% of flexibility into designing their own curricula in the classroom. So They started trusting us. We were source of content. And when I say that, I will also put here, maybe Anya or Živa can share it with all the rest. I will put a link here to a number of films that we've produced. It's more than 100 films. They are all produced by young people. Some are regional projects where, you know, people, young people from the entire region came together and created films. They are all open source, and you can easily use them if you see them. If you see them good for you.
Anybody else would like to comment the question, answer the question?
I mean, Croatia doesn't have a film education like you did Slovenia in this period of last few years as a extra topic or subject, but within the Croatian language and literature, in primary school, which we work very close to as well, there is a certain amount of hours per year dedicated to film education. We actually recognized that very early when we started to work 10 years ago, and we are trying to actually get together the financing that out of the Ministry of Education through other channels, and to offer as a let's say out of school activity, film education as out of school activity. That's the I try to answer to the colleague from Bulgaria if I succeeded. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Anya, we can bring another question in, and then
Yeah, so another question for Ivana. We have quite a few questions regarding your work in the kindergarten. So maybe from Šibenik, Nikita is asking what were the biggest challenges working with kindergarten educators, and was it hard to collaborate with them when it comes to handling technical know-how on the site in kindergartens?
Well, colleague of ours, Jana, that is usually hosting the cinema, she helped a lot. She was the right hand for the nursery teachers. So we just brought, we have sent anything that they need. Sometimes it was a good internet connection. Sometimes was a part of technical equipment. So that was really physically sent to the kindergartens. But we had a plan for whole autumn, and we could manage that easily. And we had to prepare them very carefully and very in detail, each Zoom session and each meeting.
Okay, we still have time, so we can have another question.
Okay, so from Petra, another question regarding kindergarten. So Ivana, how do you think you could, if you could apply the same online activities with kindergartens if they were closed? So how could you reach your audiences in that case?
Ooh, we will be probably much more afraid to do that because basically we would be digital nannies in some way. But with today's experience, when we look back, probably we will organize, I don't know, streaming on certain day, on certain hour, and we will send activities to parents and to nursery teachers, and then nursery teachers to parents. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but probably that would be the only way how to do it. So we will expect a lot from parents, but then maybe during the weekends it wouldn't be such a big deal to include parents.
Barbara?
We had also some experience.
You have to unmute yourself.
We had some experience with screenings for the kids that were also part of the time in the kindergartens and part of the times at home. And it worked well even with the smallest kids, but of course then you communicate through the parents, and this is another way of communicating with kids, and another responsibility because parents have their own obligations and you want this not to be a burden but a time of enjoyment. But we started with workshops. We will start with workshops in kindergartens this year, so we don't have experience here yet.
Anya?
So, Barbara, we actually have one question from you from Bulgaria again. So you were talking about that you work with different range of age groups. So Baseski is interested in how do you approach different age groups online, as they found out in Bulgaria that it was the hardest to work with older kids.
Yes, we focused activities very differently. With young age, I showed you some parts. We played mostly on creating, and the most successful were activities that foster some creativity in film field. So creating a cinema, when you watch the film, you make your own cinema, or you make your own optical toys, or you make a mini projector, film projector. With older kids, we moved to our focus to teamwork. So we tried to make activities that would connect them with their schoolmates, so that they make something together with their schoolmates. Or do I echo? Yeah,
yeah, a little bit. Anya unmuted herself, so it's great.
Okay. And with high school, I found we tried to make, we had some talks also with older kids, but we have to adjust to the way they live in online world. Most of the time they are disconnected, they hide their faces, but still I think it's important because they do engage in a communication with their own schoolmates, even if they don't expose themselves, and if only few people talk, others listen and are somehow connected through words. But in reflection that we got from the teachers, this live moment of being there and seeing the people that you talk with was the largest disadvantage. They've seen a lot of advantages. They can come even if they are far from Ljubljana. They can watch in their own time when they want, what they want, but what they miss is this live moment. So, yep. We are still learning how to deal with different age groups. We have some experiences, but it's a long-term project of learning.
That's a good istočnica, a start for my next question. I would like to hear from you, because Ivana, you already mentioned, and also Barbara now, that the cinema magic is disappearing when we are online, that we don't have it. And I wonder, can you talk a little bit about how do you see the role of the cinema in the future film education? And also for the last question, what kind of a role do you think will film education play strategically in the future? Big questions, but maybe for your last.
Yeah, I mean, I remember from the opening session from director of Slovenian Film Center, she said, have we prepared children for this? So what about our film education that we are presenting all over the place, and we think we are doing a great thing and this and that? And that's a very, very, very good question. And when I was listening to Eroll and Darko and Mark's introduction session, I'm a little bit afraid that Ministry of Cultures and Education maybe will lose intention of formalization of film education, and that they all will shift it into the digital and media competencies. That's something which I'm afraid of, that they could, because they like to be practical, especially Ministry of Education, and that could happen. So what was the second or third question you asked me?
The role, I mean, it was the role of the cinema and the role of the film education in the future.
Yeah, the role of the cinema. I hope that we will get back to the cinema, of course. Probably in the first time, it's going to be combination. And that coming to cinema will be something of spectacle, something of a very special social event with very well prepared and structured program. Cinema is a social event, not just, okay, we have, extracurricular hours, we are going to watch a movie. It's not going to be enough introduction to film. We will have to probably prepare something very, very interesting and engaging to our audience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else? I mean, it would be nice. Eroll, Darko, who would go first? Eroll. Good. Yeah. Eroll,
okay.
Just go ahead.
Okay. No, I share my concerns with Ivana as well. We run a cinema in our own city, and we had it closed almost throughout 2020, and it was so painful. Your heart aches seeing that empty room without people. I personally grew up in a cinema, in a city that had 2 cinemas, and I have a very, very emotional connection to the cinema. And this is why we fought always to have the cinema. But we have to also be realistic that cinema will never be the same again. Because in the times where we are looking at the social distancing, we cannot have social events according to, all this rules and regulations, to fight the COVID. And I know it's very, very difficult. And this is why we started opening as an experiment. We started operating our cinema, which is now open to everyone. It's not connected to a school program. It's as a community cinema, so people can come and watch documentary films, really, really good documentary films. And we are trying to kind of at least keep those people who are interested in, as our audiences, into the cinema, to have a place to come where they can also feel safe, and not threatened by crowds. We have a really, really weird situation here with the entire COVID and the government response, because our shopping malls are open, which is, total ludicrous, and cinemas are closed. So we kind of pushed to at least open up the cinemas so we can work with 1/4 of the capacity. And the future of film education, I think it's in the hands of all goodwill people. If we expect that governments will do something then we are wrong, at least from our perspective. I don't believe that the government would be interested in continuing with film education. There are plenty of people around this region and around the world who are enthusiasts and who will do anything to fight for, continuity of this, and then creating new generation who will take on the work further. It's a really, really difficult times, but I'm always hopeful. I'm an optimist, and I always believe that changes come with, few good people when they come together and start changing things, so the change will come.
Okay, Darko, and then Barbara. Darko, yeah. Darko, you just have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. I am optimist, and I hope that until the summer everything will be finished with COVID and we will have normal life back again. But in general, we need to continue to work with or without national strategy for film education. We need to continue to work. In our country, good part of the festivals have some program for kids and youth. Someone just screenings, some of them like Macedocs, which is documentary film festival, has a special youth jury for with special program for youth, and they have also filmmaking program called DokuSprouts, and they develop couple generation of young filmmakers. Also, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, they had support from USAID, and they made special program for teaching teachers how to use documentary films in education. Our festival is completely dedicated to youth, and we're trying with our informal education to influence mainly kids, but also to increase the film education, filmmaking, and we see results, as I mentioned in my presentation. So anyhow, we need to continue our work, even that I really, really hope that after the summer we will have normal life back again.
Okay, thank you. Barbara?
I think the question also goes with trends that are in education now. And some of the trends in education show towards moving the education to online environment even more after the normal returns. So I think we should, of course, ask ourselves how much do we want to move film education to the online, or what is our core, what our core values are. And I think in Slovenia we were so successful and so strong precisely because we managed to make a partnership between educational field and cultural field, that the education and the culture met in the places and with people who do this. So I think the one very important step was when the schools were encouraged to go to the cultural institutions and to be there, to feel the atmosphere, to meet different spaces that a lot of kids can't meet in their families, and to invite the artists to co-create their school events, or to hear people that think differently than education systems, so that artists and art became a part of schooling. So I think we must not lose this core value when we will move forward. And I'm sure that cinema will survive because they buried it a lot of times in history, but it will be changed. And very important question for me, for us, is what we do now has a potential to survive. Which activities are worth investing because they do carry some extra value that will be still useful when in summer a new normal will come back, as Darko said.
Thank you. Yeah, we are still humans and we still need the social connection and the shared experience. So I also believe that cinema will stay. But yeah, as you said, Barbara, everything is actually changing. We are running out of time. I heard so many buzzwords and so many interesting thoughts the importance of local community, what our local community is doing for the film education, the importance of funding, partnerships, involvement of professionals and schools, sustainable business models. And the main takeaway, I think it should be that we shouldn't lose hope. We should stay optimistic, and we have to care. We have to do everything to keep the film education here with us because it will have a huge importance also in the future. So make sure you stay with us also in the afternoon because we have a lot of work to do. Thank you to all, lovely panelists for all your thoughts, for shared experiences and your expertise. I hope, dear audience, you enjoyed the presentations and the discussions. You also have a lot of things on your mind. For all of you that are joining the afternoon session, we will meet on the Zoom meeting platform. So please just go to the second link that I sent you yesterday in the email, and we will continue our debate in smaller group sessions. So we see each other in 1 hour with the ones who are staying with us in the afternoon sessions, and all the rest have a lovely day and hope to see you tomorrow morning. Just use the same link as today. Our main focus will be strategic approaches to sustainable film education. Thank you everybody for being with us, and see you soon. Bye.